Hello everyone, welcome back to Witchtionery. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, then please do so because we're getting spooky and crafty all month long because it's Halloween. To start, I wanted to bring the Clearly Besotted Happiest Halloween stamp set. I've had my eye on the stamp set for literally 2 years. So let's get started. From my stash, I pulled out my Mini Misty and a couple of pieces of Strathmore Watercolor paper. I'm also taking out my Memento Tuxedo black ink, and I wanted to make sure I did this first because, well, Memento Tuxedo black ink takes a very long time to dry on cardstock, and if you're not careful with your cardstock and the actual dryness of this ink, it tends to bleed into your watercoloring, and I didn't want that to happen to me. So, decided to do it first, put it to the side, focus on my panels, give you guys a little anecdote, and then move on with my life, and what's better than that? So once I'm done with this, I'm pulling out my Prima Marketing metallic inks as well as my Grumbacher inks. I'm also going to take out another piece of Strathmore watercolor paper and just do a little wet wash on this panel and then go to town using my metallic inks and then my Grumbacher inks to deposit color onto my panel. I came to realize this color wasn't super vibrant and I was kind of like, what's going on here? So I took out my Zig Clean Color Realbrush markers to deposit a little bit more ink and make this color more vibrant. For those of us who are super huge AmyR fans, I'm sure the thumbnail to this video reminded you a whole lot of a video that she made back in 2016 where she used the exact same stamp set and she made the exact same card. Well, it's more like I'm making her card. And the reason why, guys, and I know that this is a little frowned upon because we should all be striving to have our own designs. Back before I was a card maker and before I had my YouTube channel, before I even had my first stamp set, I remember watching AmyR create cards and I was very interested, but I obviously didn't have any supplies, so I was just kind of watching her. And then she busted out this card for her Halloween series. And guys, I think that was the first time I had ever made googly eyes to a card. I felt like I needed to have it, and I didn't want to just like message her and be like, hey Amy, my name is Marissa Bell, I'm from New York, I really, really love your card and would appreciate having it in my collection of non-existent cards. Could you send it to me? I thought that would be a really, really bad look. So I just kind of told myself, if I'm ever good enough and if I get the stamp set, then I will just recreate her card and maybe add my own little touches to it and make it my own, and then I won't have to beg her for her card, So that's exactly what I'm doing. Instead of just making the same card that she did for her color throwdown challenge, I made one that's similar, and that's why I decided to bring my metallic ink out, because I wanted a slightly shimmery background than what she had in her video, and I thought that was totally fair to have. Also, I just really, really, really love AmyR, and anytime that I can, recreate something that she's made, I kind of feel like I'm learning in just the recreation, I'm sorry that it's kind of boring and that I made like literally 4 sets of the exact same card, but I really, really, really love this card, and I'm sure we can all think back to a moment in our lives when we first started crafting or whatever, that we saw a card that we absolutely fell in love with and we needed to have, so we recreated it shamelessly. This is my moment, guys. I waited 2 years to have my moment of recreation, so I'm hoping you guys totally understand where I'm coming from with this. I needed to have this, and I needed to have it in my series. So, AmyR, I love you. Keep doing you. Keep inspiring people, because I love you, okay? That's not creepy at all. After I was done with all of my backgrounds, I really wanted to spray them with a little bit of water to give them more of a textured and varied and interesting background. So I go ahead and I sprinkle them all with water, but first let me show you how they all turned out. They all have this really awesome metallic sort of sheen, which I'm super into, and I was really pleasantly surprised that this is how they turned out. So I spray them all down with some water, and after they're all sprayed down with water, I go ahead and I use some alcohol ink additive in white because I couldn't find my white acrylic paint. So I just go ahead and I slather that on an acrylic black and then flick it onto my actual card panels. Some of the actual splatter looks amazing. The other stuff doesn't really look as good. But you know what? We're going to make it work anyway because that's how we do. After I was done doing all of this, I realized that I still had to fussy cut all those images. And honestly, I didn't really feel like it. So, you know what? I may have used a little bit of magic to just get all of that fussy cutting done. Once I was done with all of that in my little moment of magic, I go ahead and I start, you know, kind of fidgeting with how I wanted these backgrounds. And I literally do the exact same technique that AmyR does. She had these kind of at an angle, but she had some like ultra strong, thick white thread that I didn't have, so I just ended up using some baker's twine because I was just kind of like, you know what, whatever. And instead of just doing the same up top upright folding card, I wanted to make a few that were landscape cards that would also have the same variation, but yeah, not exactly. And I'm really happy I did this just because I got to see that one favorite card of mine just kind of come to life in different ways. And it really made me happy, guys. So I'm really hoping you guys don't like, I'm telling Jennifer McGuire you did this, you're gonna get booted off. Like, no, I just genuinely love this card. I'm taking out some Tombow Permanent Adhesive glue, and I'm just gluing down some of those pieces of twine just so that way I can have them stick. And then when I use some double-sided Scotch tape, I can then actually pull on them slightly to give them that nice, blanking out on the word, but that nice pulled upon look. Taut. I think a nice taut rope. Yes, that. I'm trying to give them that sort of look. So once I'm done doing all of that and taping all of my little tape pieces, I'm taking some foam circles to then raise up all of my little balloon creatures up and just kind of making sure that I have a general angle for how these little strings are going to come back. I kind of not circle them, but I kind of like twist them so that way they're together, and then I use some double-sided double-sided Scotch tape to tape them to the back, and then I just use some foam circles to raise up my panels, and I do this for each of them. I still felt like they were missing something, like I felt like the metallic didn't bring enough. So I do go ahead and adhere some sequins down, but before I do any of that, in classic AmyR fashion, I really did need to decorate these cards because I thought some of the charm of these cards was how beautiful the insides look. That's kind of like the signature of an AmyR card. So, you know, to pay more homage to that, I did that. I also took out the Simon Says Stamp Moonlight sequins. I believe that Moonshine, Moonlight, I'm not entirely sure what this is called. Anyway, I took them out and I decided to start adhering them down to my actual panel. Then I felt comfortable enough with the actual design because it was both a little bit metallic and shimmery, and I was a-okay with how that was looking and turning out. So yay. Also, I really needed that little pumpkin on this little yellow card, and for whatever reason I didn't have it. So I go ahead and I do make another one off camera. Using my Hero Arts clear lacquer pen that I was using to adhere down these sequins, I go ahead and I use the glossiness to just smother all these little images down, which was something a little bit different than what AmyR did. I don't believe she did this. So that was my 2 cents along with the metallic background for this card. Unfortunately, it turned my little spiders purple. So, not the best idea, but here's how they turned out. I am so happy I made this kit. Honestly, I really am. I hope you guys enjoyed it and aren't too mad at me for copying a design. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this October and watch a couple of scary movies tonight and enjoy the rest of your night. Take care.